Hello! It's been a while. It's been a few months, to be precise. So, last time we talked, I did my booktube newbie tag, and then at the beginning of 2020 I moved. Then I went home and had my wisdom teeth removed. In the middle of all of that, I also have been in a reading slump, so between not reading much, not being home much, trying to figure out a new setup, and everything, I just haven't really had anything to film. So anyways, in February I only read 4 books. 3 of those 4 were a trilogy, but they're definitely favorites of mine, so I figured I'd come talk to you guys about them. I am excited to be back, so yeah, let's get started. So the first book that I read in February is The Traitor's Kiss by Erin Beaty. This is the first of the trilogy that I read, and these were a reread for me. I picked these up because I figured since I was in a reading slump I should go for something that I knew I would enjoy and that I could get through easily because I was already familiar with everything and I wouldn't feel like things were dragging along because I knew what was going to happen basically. So anyways, these books are kind of an alternate reality historical fiction. There's no fantasy element to it, which is definitely not something I would normally pick up. But like I said, I happened to find this book one day in Books A Million and it ended up absolutely falling in love with the characters, so it was an easy choice for me to pick this up to reread it. So anyways, to get into what it's about, we follow 2 points of view. We see Sage Fowler. She's the main character. And then we also get the point of view of Captain Alex Quinn. So Sage lives with her aunt and uncle. Both of her parents passed away when she was young. And she kind of at the beginning has not like other girl-itis. And I think the point of that is just to show us that, like, yes, Sage has experienced these terrible things, but at the end of the day she's been very privileged to have grown up the way she has since then. And she doesn't realize how privileged she is. So it's kind of showing her growing. She does grow out of it. And then Captain Alex Quinn, he's a captain for the military, I guess, but he is very impatient. He wants to go. He feels like he has to prove himself because his dad is the general, and so it just kind of shows him learning how to be patient and understanding that sometimes the opinions of, everyone don't matter. But at the beginning, Sage's uncle comes home from town and he tells her that she's going to see the matchmaker. She's to be matched in the Concordium this year, which is basically an event where eligible girls from a certain age and above are brought to be matched with people who, first of all, could be like a political alliance, but the matchmakers also make a point to learn things they can about the girls and about the guys or the men that they're to be matched with, just in order to make them healthy matches, so the girls don't end up in places where they're being taken advantage of in any way. But anyways, Sage goes to the matchmaker. It goes very poorly, and in a few days, when she comes back, she's cooled down, she goes back to apologize, and the matchmaker is like, no, I needed you to see that you couldn't be matched. It wouldn't work for you, but be my apprentice. So anyways, Sage tags along to the Concordium. Alex is also there, acting as a personal guard to the girls. Things go from there. And the way I'm explaining this does not make it sound like a very interesting topic, but the characters are all so well developed. The side characters, like, you fall in love with them immediately anyways. There's also lots of well-developed different cultures in here, which they're definitely based on cultures we see in real life, but they have like their own languages, their own traditions and stuff, and they kind of line up with the cultures that they're kind of reflecting or mirroring. But I think that's kind of what makes this so interesting, is that Sage gets to travel all around the land and she gets to expand her worldview. She kind of checks her privilege. But she becomes this person who is really good at understanding people, which is not something she ever tried to do at the beginning of the story. And Alex learns about himself, and the romance it becomes more of a big staple in the second and third books, but like I said, I love the characters, so I don't have any problem with that. There is a little bit of miscommunication, creating conflict as a trope, which is not my favorite, but I don't think it's unbearable in this. It kind of is just used to show their personal flaws, because they feel like they have to do everything by themselves. They don't know how to trust other people, so it's not there for no reason. It's because of their personalities. So anyways, like I said, I could talk about these all day. They're a favorite of mine for sure. 10 out of 10 recommend. So that is the first book. The second book is The Traitor's Ruin, and the third book is The Traitor's Kingdom, and I definitely recommend them. And lastly, in February, I read a book of the month pick, and I don't know that I expected it. I knew I was going to enjoy it just based on the synopsis, but I did not expect to absolutely fall in love with it like I did. And that book is Ink in the Blood by Kim Smejkal. I apologize if I'm absolutely butchering that last name, but this is a dark fantasy. I want to say it's set in kind of like an ancient Italian or Roman kind of setting. It feels very much like Italy. But anyways, the main character, Celia, has grown up with her best friend as Inklings, which is kind of part of their world religion. And their job is messages from their divine come to the High Mystico, and then the High Mystico has them tattoo something, and they either do it on themselves or someone else depending on what part of the body it's supposed to be on, and then they send the tattoo to the person. And the message, their point in doing that is to kind of convey a message to whoever they're sending the tattoo onto. And so it's a very strict, it's very structured religion, and like there are very tight rules, and Celia and Anya do not necessarily believe in this religion, so they spend most of their time trying to find ways to rebel against it in little teensy tiny ways that won't be noticed or that won't get them killed. But anyways, they having this opportunity come up for them to get out, and that's what they've been looking for since the very beginning. So they audition with this traveling, it's called like a commedia troupe. Basically, it's not a circus, they're just kind of a traveling performing troupe called the Rabble Mob, and the act that they come up with is The Angel and the Devil and the Bell Jar. But they basically use their inkling abilities to create this act, but nobody in the troupe knows that that's where they're coming from or that's how they're doing it. So the people who see it, it's a tiny rebellion against the religion, so the leaders of that are noticing that, taking note of it, not liking it, but the people who are watching the show become obsessed, they become crazed, they're following them all across the country, wherever it is they're going, and things just progress from there. Since we're seeing it from Celia's point of view, some things start to happen that threaten her own stability and mental state, and so as you're reading from her point of view, you have to kind of question everything, like, is she actually seeing this happen? Is it real? Or is she so paranoid because of what's been going on that she's imagining things to be worse than they are? But it's so dark, it's so ambiguous, alluring, it is amazing. Oh, another thing that definitely needs to be mentioned, well, a few things. So each character has this thing called a tenor, and it's basically supposed to be like their aura. But Celia she describes looking at a person's tenor and being able to, if she knows them really well based on different shades of the same color, she can kind of tell what their mood is, but she also can look at someone and tell what gender identity they use. And it's totally normalized. There's no questioning around the identity that they choose to use, which I think is great. I think we need to normalize that in YA literature. I don't think that necessarily a storyline around someone's gender identity has to be people around them disrespecting it. I think it would be nice to kind of normalize the idea of someone choosing to use she, her pronouns one day and they, them pronouns the next, and it not be like no one question it. I think it would be awesome to see more of that normalized. But another thing that they totally normalized in here is platonic intimacy and affection, and I love that because, you know, every culture in the world except for Americans are affectionate. Everybody's affectionate with people that they're friends with, but maybe not necessarily family or dating. They're just affectionate. They don't hold back, and I love that. Cuddling with your best friend, holding hands with your best friend, that's great. So Americans, let's get with it. Let's start writing more things like this that totally normalize just cuddling with your best friends. Love that. So anyways, yeah, I could talk about this book all day as well. This is definitely already a top 10 2020 read for me. I believe she's already released the title and the cover for the second book, and off the top of my head I cannot remember what the name of it's going to be, but I cannot wait to read more from this author. It was amazing. So good. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anything. Hopefully my description made you want to read this, because I want more people to read it and love it and for it to get all of the hype that it deserves. Alright, so that's it for what I read in February. I know this was a really short video, but I feel like it was a good point for me to kind of step back into filming and sharing with you guys what I'm reading and everything. Hopefully this lighting is working. I was a little bit concerned because I don't have the same direct sunlight angle that I had in my old apartment. But anyways, we'll figure it out. Thank you for watching if you did. Leave me some love in the comments if you feel like it, or whatever. But yeah, this is Catkin signing off. I do not have an intro or outro graphic, so this is just me coming in to apologize for how awkward that is. Yeah, this is my official, unofficial editing outro, whatever. Goodbye.